Man, I hate to be making this type of video, but here we are. The Detroit Lions delivered an absolute ass kicking to the Dallas Cowboys yesterday, 47-9. But in that victory, the Detroit Lions lost their best defensive player and honestly, arguably the best defensive player right now currently in the NFL. With how he's been playing this season, he was favored to go win the Defensive Player of the Year award. And for Aidan Hutchinson, man, it stinks because he is not only a great human being, he's a hell of a football player. And to go out the way he did, especially getting the sack on Dak Prescott, it was unfortunate. It was terrible to see. I pray for him, his family, his road to recovery. And I have updates today to kind of give you guys more insight to what to expect from the recovery process and what the Lions should do now that Aidan Hutchinson is expected and will miss the entire 2024-2025 NFL season. Despite what you read online that he could be back for the Super Bowl. Let's just take this thing one day at a time. He's not going to return. We don't even know if he will or not. But my best guess would be no. And as he shouldn't, heal up, get to 100%, and next year, go get that Defensive Player of the Year award. But now the Lions are in a pretty interesting position. You lose your best defensive player. And not just that, but really your best edge rusher, but really one of your only edge rushers because Marcus Davenport has already been out. He's out for the entire year. So without Aidan Hutchinson right now, you're kind of thin at edge. That's just the reality of it. And Brad Holmes is going to have to be aggressive. And you see all over Twitter, Maxx Crosby, different names being thrown around. Today I'm going to discuss it. But first, let me get to some of the reporting from Aidan Hutchinson's injury. And the first thing I'll bring up is Ian Rappaport's tweet. And he put out, while Aidan Hutchinson's broken tibia is obviously season-ending, the early prognosis is that being ready for 2025 shouldn't be an issue. All things considered, that's good news. He went into emergency surgery right after the game. And, at this time, like I said, there's no expected return date or when he should be healthy in the offseason. But at this time, all that needs to be reported is that he should be fine for next year. And that is all that matters right now. Get healthy, Aidan. Man, it really does sting. We talk about this a lot on the show, too. There's a couple guys that you just can't afford to lose. Aidan's one of them. Like, injuries happen in football. So to say that someone gets injured is not the surprise. It's just who it is. It's Aidan Hutchinson. I interrupted today's video to tell you about the sponsor of today's video, and that is Lucy Nicotine Pouches. I have the wintergreen edition, 8 milligram strength, and it is great, at least for me, watching these Lions games. If it gets stressful or you're out golfing or maybe you're having a morning coffee, these go with everything. It's amazing. And it doesn't have to be wintergreen. They have tons of flavors. You can go now to lucy.co/CT Sports, use our promo code, and you get 20% off your first order. And they offer free shipping. And you get a 30-day refund policy if you change your mind. Again, that's lucy.co. Use code CT Sports and get hooked up with one of these. Again, doesn't have to be wintergreen. They have tons of flavors. They're all great. I've tried a bunch of them, and they are my go-to for either stress reliever or anything else in between. Like I said, like to golf and put these in. It's amazing. So check them out. And don't forget, this product does contain nicotine, and it's only available for adults of legal age. And every order is age verified. And don't forget, nicotine is an addictive chemical. Appreciate you, Lucy. Like, he is a line mover, not just an offensive line mover, a line mover. If you look at next week's game against the Minnesota Vikings, now that Aidan Hutchinson is out for the year, the lines moved. And shout out to Honolulu Blues for putting this out. Look at the Lions. The line moved from Lions -1.5 to Lions +1.5 after Aidan Hutchinson went down. That's the kind of player Aidan is. And the reality is you can't replace him. You just can't. The only close player that is in his stratosphere is Maxx Crosby. And I don't know how realistic it is to go acquire him. I don't know if Mark Davis would even let that happen. Even the clip that came out of him shoving a coach and he looks frustrated. He has a Raiders tattoo on his body. Maxx Crosby is really their only valuable piece left. So if they trade him away, I mean, you're talking, guys, when you look at a franchise, especially like the Las Vegas Raiders, and they're not like packing out their stadium consistently. And they just aren't. Barely anyone is showing up. And also, it's probably mostly opposing fans. You're not going to trade away a guy like Maxx Crosby unless he forces their hand. Now, if Maxx Crosby says, I'm out, get me out of here, then they don't really have a choice. But until that happens, I don't see them trading Maxx Crosby. That's my take on it. Now, that player would substitute some of what Aidan can do. Maxx is one of the best in the NFL. So you're losing the best right now in the NFL in Aidan with how he's playing, and you'd be replacing him with one of the best in the NFL. So that I can listen to. But even if you go get a guy like a Haason Reddick, which I'm completely out on, by the way, because he is not the right human being for this team. Dan Campbell would not mesh well with Haason Reddick. I just do not see that happening. I don't think Brad would do that. Or you even look look at a Khalil Mack in Los Angeles with the Chargers. He has 1 year left. Even at his age, he's still pretty productive. I think he has like a sack and a half, 2 sacks on the season so far. He's not Aidan, but at least you'd be getting some depth. They just need depth. Whether you trade for an edge and sign an edge, that's the route that Brad's going to have to go here. You got to bring in some help. This is a Super Bowl ready roster. And defensively, that's always been kind of the question mark, is what are you getting out of this team defensively? And right now, at this point, without Aidan, it's going to be tough to sustain a consistent pass rush. Like right now, you have James Houston, Isaac Ukwu, Josh Pascal. I mean, Levi Onwuzurike, you can play on the edge. Like it's not great. It might be fine, but it's not great. You still have those 2 defensive tackles that are very good, DJ Reader and Ali McNeil, but they need more help on the edge. They just do. And at this point in time, when you enter this era of being a Super Bowl contender and you've built up, being Brad Holmes, you built up this roster into a legit Super Bowl contender with draft picks. You've hit on a bunch of draft picks. You're at the point now where F them picks. I mean, I see it on Twitter. You guys are absolutely right. F them picks. You're in that era now. Like it's not that you have to trade away every single draft pick, but Brad Holmes was with Les Snead, and Les Snead gave up essentially. They didn't have a first round pick for years, but they got a Super Bowl out of it. Not saying the Lions should trade away a ton of draft picks, because again, Brad with draft picks, he drafts franchise players. But if you have to give up a first or 2, let's say Maxx Crosby does become available, I don't give a damn what it costs. Get it done. I just don't. Get it done. At this point, I would take the Super Bowl and lose out on a couple first-round picks. That's where I'm at. And he's the only player that I think would command first-round picks. Now, when you look at other edge rosters, you probably are trading away mid-round picks, which I'm still on board with. You guys know how I feel. I've been consistent. Even with Aidan, I wanted to trade for an edge. Now that he's out, Brad has no choice. Like, you have to go get somebody. Because you look at this NFC North, and guys, this is the interesting part of the NFC North. If you watched over the weekend any NFC North games, this division is the best division in football. They've won over the weekend, the NFC North, 116-38. That's the combined scores on Sunday. I mean, this NFC North, it's tough. I mean, even with a rookie quarterback in Caleb, they're getting better, but they have a good defense. The Vikings are undefeated. The Packers are getting better. Like the Lions, you can't afford to stay pat and say, we're just going to win this thing how it's currently constructed. You have to, it's not just competing on the field. Brad has to compete with these GMs. You know, I mean, you essentially have to look around and be like, okay, how do we improve this roster? Which Brad does a very good job at. But you can't just sit back and be like, well, what do we need? We'll just address it in next year's draft. No, fuck that. You need it right now. Like, pick up the phone and see who you can get. If it's Maxx Crosby, if there's even a slight indication that he's available, get it done. You know, if there's another player like a Khalil Mack out there, or a Zadarius Smith, who one of our members, shout out to Shift God, always suggests Zadarius Smith. I don't hate it at all. But a player out there, get it done. Screw them picks. Screw them picks. If you're getting a high caliber player. You know, I'm not going to overpay for Khalil Mack. You know, I'm not going to give away multiple firsts for him. But you get my point. If it's Maxx Crosby, screw the first-round picks. Brad's so good at drafting. I get it. You want as many picks as possible, but you should also feel confident if he has less picks because of how good he is at drafting. You know, like, it's how Les Snead is. Les Snead didn't have a first-round pick. He found Puka Nacua. So they're fine. And that's what Brad needs to do at this point, man. And seriously, my thoughts and prayers with Aidan on his recovery, his family, just for watching that game and seeing it unfold. It's a traumatizing experience, I bet. And it's just unfortunate that it happens to anyone in the NFL, but to happen to Aidan and with the season he was having, it's just incredibly unfortunate. So, man, it stinks. And even waking up today, it hurts even more. I mean, it just does. The Lions won, but it felt like they lost. I don't know if you guys are with me on that. But appreciate all the support you guys have been showing on the channel. Like the video and subscribe as always. And I will catch you guys tonight on our live show, 8 p.m. to 10 p.m. Lots to get to. We'll talk about the Aidan injury, trade candidates, and much more. The victory itself, the positive as well. Until then, I'll catch you guys. Hey, what's going on there? It's Jeff Iafrate. Appreciate you for finishing the video. You can check out one of the videos here suggested or show support by commenting, liking, and subscribing. And buy your merchandise, officialctsports.com.